The main point of this class is to understand how different methods of production work. There are 4 parts in this class: job production, batch production, mass or flow production, and mass customization, and only one assessment objective: to discuss operations or production methods. In order to achieve this objective, you're supposed to understand a few things about every method of production. So I'm suggesting again to keep you busy and to fill in this table. For each method of production, please understand and make a note of how it works, of some examples, of the most likely product perception map category. If you forgot what product perception map or PPM is, then please review class 4.2, and also understand and make a note of pros and cons of each production method. Now, one more important reminder: all businesses provide products. Products can be tangible and intangible. Tangible products are called goods, intangible products are called services. In this class, we're only talking about manufacturing of goods. So we're only talking about tangible products, something that can actually be produced, be manufactured with the help of different production methods. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, tell your friends about me, and enjoy 5.2. Job production refers to manufacturing of a one-off item, something that is really special, something that is only one of a kind. For example, Batmobile, or wedding cake, or a spaceship. Technically, you can produce like several identical Batmobiles, wedding cakes, or spaceships, but the way it will work is not like a production line where identical Batmobiles or spaceships or wedding cakes are produced by mainly machines. The way that would work is first you produce one, then you produce another, and each of them is special, and there is no production line that produces identical products. So that is what job production is. If we're trying to put products that are produced using job production into one of product perception map categories or PPM, then it would most likely to be premium products, the ones with high quality and high price. If you have no idea what I'm saying right now, if you don't know what PPM or product perception map is, then it means that you missed class 4.2 where we learned PPM. So please review it or watch it for the first time if you have never heard about PPM. On the one hand, job production is super flexible and it allows for customization. So everything can be produced up to customers' needs and wants. Again, when we learn mass production in the third part of this class, there is just a production line and identical items, totally identical, totally the same items are produced at a very high speed in high volumes. This is not the case with job production. Here you produce only one thing at a time and you can customize it, you can change it, you can make something special, like Batmobile or a wedding cake or a spaceship. All things one of a kind. If you want another thing, then you have to order it and it will be produced specifically for you. Even if it's the same as the one before, it is still special, one of a kind production. In addition to that, since it's so special and flexible and customizable, organizations that use job production are able to charge higher prices and thus enjoy high markups, which is basically the difference between the selling price and costs. If you want to learn more about markups, then class 4.5 is something you gotta watch. And lastly, from employees' perspective, job production is super motivating. Employees are in charge of everything, of the entire production process from the very beginning to the very end. This process highly relies on them and they feel like they are real professionals, they are really responsible for the output and they are in charge of everything, which is of course really motivating, unlike mass production, where job is very boring, but we'll talk about it in part 3 of this class. With regards to drawbacks, the price that you have to pay as a customer for job production is usually really high and also production times are really long. That is the price you pay for all the flexibility and customization and one-of-a-kind status. Compared to other production methods, job production is the least efficient one because the process is not automated and it's highly labor-intensive. Speaking of labor, there is very high reliance on employees in job production. This of course, can be a good thing, but on the other hand, if something happens to employees or they decide to quit or leave the organization for some reason, then it would be very hard to find a replacement for them, because they're highly qualified, super specialized in what they're doing, and it's really hard to find an alternative for them. The opposite of that is, again, mass production, where everything is mostly produced by the machines and people don't really matter much at all. But again, we'll talk about that in part 3 of this class when we learn mass or flow production. Now, here's a picture that illustrates some of the examples of job production. Batch production refers to manufacturing of a group or batch of identical products. Basically, you use the same machine, the same equipment to produce different batches of output. The typical example is bakery that has only one oven, but one and the same oven is used to produce bread, cupcakes, croissant, and anything else that is produced in a bakery. So you produce batches or sets or groups of identical products using the same equipment. In addition to bakery, some other examples could be pharmaceutical industry, where the same machines are used to produce different batches of medicine, pills, drugs, and brewery, where different kinds of beer is produced using the same equipment. If we put items that are produced using batch production onto product perception map, they're most likely to fall into any category except for the premium category. So it means they can be economy products or bargain products or cowboy products. Of course, they can be premium as well, but the 3 categories that I mentioned are the most likely ones. With regards to advantages, batch production is similar to job production. It's also customizable. But in job production, you can customize every single item because there is no production line, there is no oven, there is just one thing that is being produced at a time. With batch production, there is a batch. A group, a set of products that are produced at the same time. So if you want to customize something, you customize the entire batch, not every single item. Additionally, batch production is quite efficient because compared to job production, you don't produce only one thing at a time, you're producing the entire batch, which allows organizations to use economies of scale when your average costs, your costs per unit, decrease as you increase the output. However, the price that you have to pay for batch production is keeping higher stock levels of raw materials and components. So these costs would be higher compared to job production. Additionally, if you want to customize something, as I've already mentioned, you customize the entire batch, not every single item like in job production. Additionally, job production was labor intensive. It mainly relied on labor. But batch production that we're talking about now is more capital intensive. It relies on machinery, on equipment, more than job production, which means that the price that you have to pay for it is higher maintenance costs. More equipment, it means that it's more likely to break down or it needs some maintenance, so that's why these costs would be higher. And here's a picture that illustrates some of the examples of batch production. Mass/flow production. What does that mean? In IB Business Management, you can use those two words interchangeably, however, you have to be aware of the fact that in literature, those words are not always used interchangeably. So even though you can use them interchangeably, it's fine for IB Business Management exam, or internal assessment, or extended essay. However, you should be aware that when you say mass production, you are emphasizing the high quantities of output produced. You say that massive amounts of products are produced. That's the main feature. But when you say flow production, what you're emphasizing is that there is a non-stop production line and there is a flow of products that are manufactured 24/7 non-stop. So essentially, mass and flow production, it's the same thing, but it emphasizes different features of this production method. And once again, you can use those two interchangeably, that is okay. So, what is mass/flow production? This refers to large-scale manufacturing of identical products on a non-stop production line, whereby a product is built up on every stage. So, the key words here are large-scale. It's huge, there are massive amounts of output, the output is identical, there is a production line or a flow that is divided into several stages, and the product is built up. If we're talking about a car, then first you start with a body, then you add wheels, then you add seats and other elements, and then it's done. So at every stage of production process, the output gets heavier and heavier, you add more and more elements until it's finally done. Some of the examples of mass production are Coke, or mass market cars like Great Wall Motors or Toyota, and fast-moving consumer goods or FMCGs. For example, toilet paper and toothbrush. If you forgot what FMCGs are and what other types of products there are, then class 4.1 is something that you gotta review. If we put mass-produced goods on a product perception map, PPM, that we learned in 4.2, then they are least likely to be premium products, because they're mass-produced, identical, cheap, available to everyone. So the two most likely categories are bargain and economy products. On the one hand, mass or flow production is the most efficient of all, because average costs are low, production time is fast, and the process is highly automated. Also, those organizations that use mass or flow production, they also use economies of scale that we learned in Unit 1.5, which allows them to, for example, purchase higher levels of stocks in exchange for a discount, so this way they are able to lower their average costs. And lastly, there is no need to hire qualified super skillful workforce for mass production. The tasks that employees do are really routine, basic, simple, and monotonous, so you do not have to be super qualified for that. On the downside, this method of production is the least customizable of all, because it produces huge amounts of identical, totally identical products. Again, think of the examples that I provided: Coke or toothpaste or toothbrush or mass-produced cars. All the same, not like Batmobile. If you want to customize something in mass production, you have to stop the production line completely, readjust it, and then start producing customized products again, but they again will all be identical. So the only way to customize mass or flow production is to customize the production line, so that it produces another thing which will still be in high quantities and totally identical. Additionally, mass production only makes sense if it works on a large scale, if there is high demand and if there is a need to produce high volumes of output. If you do not have high demand, if you only want to produce very few things and charge high prices for that, then mass production is definitely not the way to go. Additionally, setting up mass or flow production is really expensive. It requires a lot of time and also significant investment, because basically you're building a factory that is supposed to work 24/7. And lastly, from employees' perspective, mass production is really demotivating, because you're doing really simple, really boring tasks all day. One way to overcome that, by the way, is job rotation, which we learned in 2.4. If you forgot what that is, please review that class. Now, here are some pictures that illustrate some of the examples of mass production. One more thing, since we're talking about mass production, we just have to mention Henry Ford. Henry Ford, the founder of Ford, the car brand, is also considered to be the developer of the assembly line method of mass production. This method completely changed the business world. Let me just give you an example. Do you think you can buy a helicopter? Or how many of your friends are able to purchase a helicopter? Not too many, right? Or maybe none of your friends are able to do that.
If they're able, I'm really happy for you and for them, but I don't know anyone who can purchase a helicopter personally.
So cars were as expensive and as luxurious as helicopters are today. And guess who changed it? Henry Ford. Because he started mass producing cars, and he was also kidding that customers can have Ford T, that model of Ford that was mass produced. They can get it in any color under one condition. This color has to be black. I'm not going to overwhelm you with a big story about Henry Ford. I just encourage and inspire you to learn more about him and about assembly line, because it was a complete game changer. Mass customization is not really a new method of production, it kinda refers to mass or flow production, but it has one very big and important feature. So, what is mass customization? It is the same as mass or flow production, but it is flexible and allows for customization. So it allows to alleviate the main drawback of mass and flow production. Now, how does mass customization work? This is a relatively new concept and there is no one way to explain how exactly it is done. However, the two examples that I usually provide are Volkswagen Group and Mini. Both of them are car manufacturers and both of them customize their output, but they do it in different ways. With regards to Volkswagen, as you probably know, Volkswagen Group owns a lot of brands in addition to Volkswagen: Seat, Lamborghini, Audi, Ducati, and etc. etc. Please visit their website if you want to see full list of the brands they own. In their case, Volkswagen produces the same components but combines them differently in different cars of different sizes, brands and appearances in order to achieve customization. Very often you can find, for example, the same engine in Volkswagen, Skoda and Seat in the same time. So this is their way to manufacture mass-produced cars and at the same time allow customers some flexibility, allow them to choose the engine, the color or some other elements that are also actually mass-produced. So you combine both things together: mass production, high volumes of output, and customization. With regards to Mini, they actually put customization as one of their core values and one of their main marketing strategies and unique selling point. If you forgot what that is, then Unit 4 is something that you definitely have to watch. So in their case, what they do is they manufacture the base product, the car in this case, and then customization happens only at the very final stage. They can change the colors, they can add some elements, which is really nice, which is something that makes customers happy because they feel that their car is special, and at the same time it still allows to mass produce those cars. So these are two of the ways how mass customization can be achieved. First, either by mass producing different elements, different components, and combining them differently in order to achieve customization, and second way, to produce the base product that can be customized at the very last stage. If we're trying to put mass customized products into one of the categories of product perception map, then it would be a hard thing to do, because it's a relatively new concept and actually it's so nuanced it can easily be any category. With regards to advantages, mass customization has all the benefits of mass or flow production, but it also has one big fat huge advantage, which is customization and flexibility. This is something that mass production cannot provide, but mass customization can. This is not only the main advantage, but also the main feature, and it's even in its name. It's called mass customization. Now, with regards to drawbacks, even though mass and flow production are already dependent on design and technology, mass customization is even more dependent and reliant on design and technology. It takes a lot of time, it takes significant investment, it takes really good engineers to develop such a process that allows to produce massive amounts of output and at the same time allows for customization. So the main drawback is that it would be expensive and time-consuming to set up mass production that is customizable. This picture illustrates some of the examples of mass customization. This is the end of 5.2. As a summary of all production methods that we learned, I would like to show you this chart. Here you can see 3 methods of production: job, batch, and mass or flow, and 5 spectrums with 2 ends. Let's talk about the first one. So on the left side we have labor intensive, on the right side we have capital intensive. Job production is mostly labor intensive, it relies on labor and employees. Mass production is mostly capital intensive, it relies on machinery and equipment. And batch production is somewhere in between. Now you can use the same logic to the remaining 4 spectrums: efficiency, costs per unit, production time, and setup costs. If you want to get back to this diagram, then please remember that I have an online textbook, levinsky.com. Please visit it anytime and find class 5.2 there. Now, before you like this video and subscribe to my channel, if for some reason you have not yet done so, also tell your friends about me and make sure you have achieved the assessment objective for this class.